What is up, everybody? Hope you're having a spectacular day so far as you tune into another episode of the Gold Ball Hunting Podcast. I am Brent Abel. That young buck over there is the great Jeff Jacklich. Oh yeah, there he is. Stop making me look so good, Brent. Come on, man. Stop that stuff.
Go on.
Yeah. So look, guys, another episode. And today what we're going to get into is one of the big mysteries of so many tennis players out there is how do I transfer the feeling I have in practice over in my matches, whether it's singles or doubles. Right. And so, guys, we got some ideas for you today. We got some things we want you to think about. We're going to kind of break them down into three specific areas of how you can do that. And so before we get into that today, I want to remind you guys, Jeff and I are offering a free private 15-minute coaching call. The three of us, we get in the telephone, and we yak about that one thing you want to bring to the call that is just, you're not getting the result you want. Something's going on. And whether you're a do-it-yourselfer, you haven't yet figured it out, whether you're with a teaching pro, you guys haven't yet figured it out, might be a good opportunity since it's free. That would be no charge and it's private. Let's get on a 15-minute call, and I'll bet you Jeff and I can maybe give you a little idea how to set you on the path to start getting that different result you want. Go over to goldballhunting.com, drop in a first name and email address, click that button below it, and you'll get access to our online calendar scheduler, where you get to cherry pick the date and time that works best for you, not for us.
Yeah.
You're in the Eastern time zone. I'm in the West. I'm in the Pacific time zone. You guys could be in a different time zone. Doesn't matter. It's up. We're here to serve. We're here to serve. So there you have it, Jeff. Today we're going to talk about getting that feeling that we have in practice, which is it's a beautiful day out here. And it's 82 degrees. There's no wind. I'm at my happy confines of my tennis club against a guy or a gal I practice with all the time.
Right.
I've just had a great day, and everything's happy at home, and the kids are squared away. You know, they're on we've got them on the exit strategy where they're no longer mooching off of us at home. And I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good. I'm in the practice thing. And yet, I didn't have the same feeling last weekend when I played that league match or that tournament match. And so I'm really befuddled. How do I take the feeling I have in practice over to my matches? I want to know how to do that. So we've broken this down into three keys of what you can do. I mean, tangible takeaways, things that you can actually start taking action on. So, Jeff, the first one we've got is to play some practice sets that have got a slightly painful consequence.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's monetary, and I'm not saying, and you guys used to do this up at Napa, is that you guys would play for some money.
$100 a set.
But maybe it's
real
money in a different way. That's different. That's different money. But maybe it's money like, you know what, I'll buy the post-practice beverages, or I'll buy you lunch, or I'll buy you dinner, or
It's got to sting. It's got to sting a little bit,
little something.
So just a Coke or something is
big whoop.
Not big enough. Whoop. It's got to sting a little bit.
Yeah.
So because that's what are we missing, right? What are we missing in that translation? And the translation is, we don't feel the same pressures and the same emotions and all those things in practice that we do in a real set, right? In a real match, be it league or at a tournament, right? Because the variables at a match, be it a league match or at a tournament, are, wow, there's people watching, my cronies are there. I'm at a facility I'm unfamiliar with. I'm at a facility I don't like, or I like the facility, but I'm stuck on the one court I hate at the facility. I mean, we could list 1,000 things.
And by the way, the result gets made public.
Oh, by the way, yes. That in fact, it'll be public so fast, it'll be everybody already know by the time you get home. So
That's right. That's right. No, there's
so we got to bridge the gap there between, what happens in a match, right? And how do I create some real stress and some real pain, right, in our practice sessions.
Yeah.
And
well, look, and so I want to kind of just sort of suggest a practice session where you can kind of ease your way into those practice sets with that have got a significant consequence to them. And look, the consequence could be monetary, but it could be, it could be that you guys say, hey, you know what? We're going to make today's result public somehow. I don't know.
Right.
Post it on the blackboard,
well.
and post on the blackboard or the bulletin board at the club, and just go, hey, we decided we want to make today's match result public.
Now this one's a little more internal. The pain could be, are you willing to lose this set today 6-0 in pursuit of improving? I am perfectly willing, because I do it, to lose sets 6-0 in pursuit of, improving something. I got to get my timing back on my serve and volley. I'm looking at these very specific little items when I get back on the practice court to prep for a tournament. And so I just take the whole idea that the set score itself is some sort of barometer by which I'm going to judge today's practice on. So I just take that off the table completely, and I say, can I just execute X, Y, or Z today? And not care.
There's another level of consequence, which could be not only, Jeff, did I beat you 6-0 today? And I'm not going to tell everyone because you're not telling me. I don't know this. But you've decided that, you know what? I don't care if I lose 6-0. I don't care if I got to buy dinner. And I don't care if it's made public. And all those three things combined, now all of a sudden you are taking the consequence of the result off the table. Right? Because you've decided this is practice. And it could be that you go, I'm just going to play. I'm just going to play. I've got nothing really. I've been working on this or that, and I don't really have anything that I specifically want to work on other than I just want to compete like an SOB. I am going to go out there today, and I'm going to compete like I'm not going to take a point off. Right? And I'm not going to build an excuse as why today's practice is not working out. If I lose a set 6-0, I'm going to still compete my fanny off like no one's ever seen. And so, but to get back to where I said about easing into that playing set situation where there's a consequence, I've mentioned this on a few podcasts recently, is that what I love to do is to go out, and if there's a certain pattern I'm working on, we'll go out and warm up 7-10 minutes, get a good little lather going, and then I'll serve for 12 or 15 minutes. I just serve. Deuce, add. We play points. We don't keep score. So there is no consequence that we're playing for other than I get an opportunity to sort of play on one specific pattern today. And then after my time, we take a quick little break, maybe a 2-minute break, towel off, get some water, whatever. And then it's my opponent's or my practice partner's turn to do the same. They get served. But now I get to, for the next 12 or 15 minutes, I get to work on one specific return to serve play or return to serve pattern that I want to work on. So that might take us through, let's say, 35, 40 minutes. We're done with that, take another 2-minute break, and then we play the set or two that's got a consequence. Well, if you play one set and you go for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, gosh, I mean, you've played for maybe an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half.
Right.
That is, you've gotten a lot of work done in that 90 minutes. And one of the things you've started to do is desensitize yourself to when you play in a match, right? It's now become, this practice session has got some level of consequence, right? So that's an actionable step that you guys can take in terms of how to design a practice session where it's just not mindlessly grinding cross-court stuff, right?
And also, it's not just, if you're playing Jim, your regular practice partner, it's not just doing the things you know what to do, how to beat Jim.
That's true. That's true. Right. Yeah. I mean, I've got a guy who we haven't played for a while, but one of the things that he's a backcourt guy, and yet he can't beat me from the backcourt. It's just a bad matchup for him, whatever I do. And so it's like every time we play, I say, hey, man, why don't you serve and volley? He goes, yeah. Okay, this next set I'm going to serve and volley. So his first service game, the next set, he serves and volley for maybe 2, maybe 3 points. And it doesn't matter, Jeff, whether he's won them all, lost them all, or some combination has been, just doesn't like the feeling.
Right, and he goes back to his warm fuzzy.
He goes back to warm and fuzzy. And afterwards I go, dude, you're not, I mean, look, I just won the first set with you doing what you love to do. Why don't you lose another set doing something that you don't love to do? And you might discover, whoa, I'm actually pretty good at this. And he doesn't seem to like this. Either the set we just played was I lost, but it was 5 or 6, but maybe I just won the set. I don't know. So, all right, let's talk about thing 2 here, which are practice constraints, little games that you've devised, these practice constraints. But before we get into that, I just want to remind guys real quick again, Jeff and I offering a 15-minute private free coaching call that you can jump on. Bring that one thing to the call, that number one thing in your game right now that you're struggling with, that you want to get it resolved ASAP, and help you start getting the result you want, whether it's a better result in singles or doubles. Go over to goalballhunting.com, drop in that first name, email address, and then click the button, and you'll get access to our online calendar scheduler. You get to cherry pick a date and time that works best for you. So, Jeff, part 2 of this podcast today is our constraint games that you've devised. I'm going to have you don't have to bring them all up because we just did a whole list of 10 recently, but maybe 1 or 2 of the constraint games which help us desensitize ourselves that when we get into those pressure moments in matches, later in a set, later in a match, maybe tiebreakers, something like that.
Right.
Kind of explain what's the purpose of constraint games, and give us 1 or 2.
So the purpose of a constraint is to create pressure, right? Especially in the context of playing sets, a constraint is designed to create pressure, real pressure, so that we get used to it. So we actually have to think, and we know stepping up to the line to either return or serve that there's a consequence. There's a different consequence at 5-all as opposed to 1-all. Right.
So
instead of playing, for an hour, playing a really tight set with your friend over there, and then finally getting to serving for the first set at 6-5, 40-30, we can help kind of move the meter almost every game where you're going to have to think through that moment again and again and again and again. So you start to feel that pressure and start to kind of get used to it. Like, you know what, this water isn't as hot as I thought it was. It's not as uncomfortable as I thought it was. In fact, I'm starting to learn now how to handle this moment, and that I can stay focused on my plan and not think that I have to stray off the reservation and do something nutty now that it's, now that I'm in that moment. So one constraint is whenever the score gets to 40, whoever gets to 40 first, it doesn't matter the returner or the server at that point only gets 1 serve for the rest of the game.
So if it's 40 love, if I'm serving, I get 1 serve for the rest of the game.
Yep, 1 serve.
If it's love 40,
you
one
get
serve
1
for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Okay. If I get to 40-15, 40-30, or any combination, if I get to deuce, for the rest of the game,
1 serve.
I get 1 serve.
Once somebody gets 40, 1 serve the rest of the game.
Okay. So to me, it would behoove myself to get to 40 love and know that, and know that, all right, I only get one serve. Not that I've got points to throw away, but
Right.
that at least I have a little cushion here at 40
Little
love.
cush. But now we have to start actually calculating and thinking, where's my best serve now? What's my best serve in this situation? Where should I serve it is going to give me the best opportunity to have something to work with off the guy's return.
So, but you're talking, let's say it's 40 love. What I'm thinking is that, well, look, I don't have a luxury here to throw in a double fault. I don't have a luxury here to try to go for the big bomber at 15 love,
right,
or 30 love, thinking I got a little cushion here, because there's a chance that person over there could get to 40 first, and then it's like gulp.
Yeah.
So every point to me in that game, Jeff, is crucial. That
right.
I play it smart.
Where do you want to be? Where do you want to be?
Yeah.
Right at 40.
Right.
Where do you want to be?
That's right.
So that's one. That's really obviously easy to implement. You can do it right now today. Go out there and practice that. The other one I like is whoever gets to 40 first, server or receiver, doesn't matter. So if I'm serving at 40-15 and I lose that point, I go to love. My opponent gets to keep his 15. I switch to the ad side, and now I'm serving at love 15.
Ouch.
Ouch. So now we start to really grasp the importance of having an opportunity and how fleeting they can be.
Yeah.
That, you know, how fleeting a match point can be, how fleeting 3 match points can be, how fleeting 40 love can be serving at 6-5.
Right.
Thinking and having your mind stray and think, I've already got this in the bag and I'm already over there changing sides and thinking, okay, this guy's going to be depressed now, and blah, blah, blah. And the next thing I know, we're back to deuce again.
He's going to be depressed.
You know, I mean, so this is another great way. I mean, I've had practice sessions with guys and gals, and a game all of a sudden lasts 15 minutes, and having both sides get to 40 and then dump the next point, and now it's back to love 15. There we go, love 30, whatever it is, and then have the other team battle back and get to it, and then do something. And the thing that's funny is how the mentality shifts, and you'll learn it, and that's why we do it. Is that all of a sudden, I'll be coaching, a double session or single session, and the person will do something just ridiculous off the return once they get to 40, and then they hit the return, and then they look at me and go, what the hell was I thinking, Jeff? I look at them and go, gosh, wish I could help you, but like maybe you should have just thought about knocking that thing down the middle of the court.
Right.
I know. I actually thought it, but then when the ball came, I did something else. And listen, it happens all the time. We're all guilty of it. But the constraints, though, is what helps us get corralled. So
what I love about it, initially players might think, well, all this is doing is creating this incredible pressure, all this tension. And initially when you play these games, that's what you're going to experience. You're going to feel this.
That's the point.
That's the point. Eventually, as you do it more and more and more, you will get desensitized to that feeling of pressure. And you're going to realize that, well, wait a minute, the more I relax, the chances are better that I'm going to play this point with better clarity. I'm going to play it smarter. And things are going to start going my way where I'm not concerned about forcing the outcome, forcing the result.
What would happen if I just executed my first 2 shots? What would happen if I hit my serve?
Right.
I came in and just hit my first volley and made my first volley up the middle of the court. What would happen if I just did that?
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, listen, let's go on to part 3. And part 3 is, once you actually have done this is assuming that you've done these first 2 things in terms of playing the game where you serve for 12 or 15 minutes, you don't keep score, but you're working on patterns, and then you've got the consequence set that you play, right? And then you play these games that Jeff, you just play those 2 right there. In terms of, and again, another great practice session might be where you're using the constraint games is you might go out and and not play a set on that day, but you might go ahead and, or you could do any combination, right? You could play the constraint games first, and then you could play a consequence set. Or you could play the initial, you serve 12, 15 minutes, whatever, don't keep score, and then just play the constraint games. Whatever you want to do, however you want to mix it up.
Right.
The third part is going to be once you get onto the match, or once you get into the match. And just quick, before we get into this last part, guys, Jeff and I, 15-minute coaching call with you guys. It's private, and it's free, no charge. All you got to do is go over to goldballhunting.com, drop in a first name and email address. Click the button, and you'll get access to our scheduler. You can cherry pick a date and time that works best for you. So the third thing to me, I think one of the things that I was able to sort of make a transition from is I used to practice like a dog, and then I'd go out there and think that the match was like a completely different mindset. It was like now I sort of had to get the eye of the tiger or whatever I had to do, but it was different. And this is the whole title of the podcast. Hey, well, how do I, because everyone seems to know intuitively, well, how do I get that mindset I had in practice where I felt so great and I was just making shots? How do I get it over the match where I don't feel great and I'm just choking like a dog, or I'm just coughing up leads? So I think the word is trust, and what that means is that when you get into the match, if you've practiced enough, and if you allow yourself to trust that practice could come out on its own, if you don't try to manipulate it, if you don't try to manufacture it, if you don't try to force it, if you go, oh, let's get in the zone today. Well, okay, how do I do that? Well, if you try to make it happen, not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing you have to do is trust your practice, allow your subconscious, which has been absorbing all this practice, conditioned upon you've actually been doing this, and that number one, if you'll trust that, then what you're going to find is you don't feel the same pressure that you used to in matches, and that, look, the reality is we can't win every time. I'm sorry. You can't win. I mean, look, if you're playing against someone who can barely hit the tennis ball every time, all right, you're going to win every time. Great. If you're feeling pressure in those matches, I think you need to do a little bit more work. But what's your thing? I mean, when you get into a match, I know what I do now, which I'll talk about after what you do. But you just mentioned how you practice before you get to a tournament, and you mentioned, look, all right, we got a consequence on this set, but I'm still going to work on it. If I lose love, I don't care, because I know the payoff is going to be, once I get to the match, I'm going to feel comfortable with working that pattern. So once you get there, Jeff, how do you trust that your practice is going to come out?
Well, as long as I don't shift my thought process to now I'm trying to win the point. And so every shot I hit, in that mindset, our execution then usually falls off dramatically, because now my focus is no longer the execution of the pattern, of the tactic. It's on winning. And the problem with that is that now I've abandoned the thing that will actually get me the result I want, which is the tactic or the pattern that I've now added to my game. So the trust here is about stay the course. Here's my plan today. I'm going to stay on script, and that will result in the win at the end of the day.
So look, we all want to win. We're all competitive. We're crazy competitive. But just like Jeff said, or what you're saying is that if you take the result, if in terms of I want to win, I want the result. Now that is, we all want the win. We all want the result. But wait,
I admit it freely. I love to win.
That's right. But here's the rub. If you think about the result and the win, And look, I'm going to say it. I'm going to tell you to it truthfully and honestly. This is where people get screwed up. This is where players get screwed up. It's the social status that winning or losing bring. At least it's your perception of what the social status is going to mean. If I win this, my social status gets elevated. If I lose this, my social status gets diminished.
Yeah.
And guys,
Being exiled.
Guess what? That's all internal. Externally, no one gives a flying rip.
No one's talking about it at dinner time except you.
That's right. So we get in the way of ourselves in terms of, I want to win, I want the result. Well, look, I want to win and I want the result too. But what I know that means is for me to be able to do that, intentionally, I have to know how am I going to start each point. Not how I'm going to win every point. What's my intention? It's 4-all in the first, and it's 30-all. God dang it! I want to win this, man. I want the result. Well, now you've just taken yourself out of it.
Right.
No, it is what's been working so far. What do I feel good with doing right now at 30-all? What's my clarity on how I'm going to start this point? Because there's too many uncontrollables that I cannot control that might mean I'm going to win it. The guy fluffs up the easiest one of all time. Hasn't done that all day. Maybe he got tight. Or
there's an option.
or he hits a lead cord winner. I've got no control over that.
Right.
So to overcome the potential lead cord winner, I better go for the first serve bomber. Well, God, you just missed that serve, and now the second serve sits up, and he does hit the lead cord, whatever. So, look, to me, I want to win. I want the result, and that to me means I got to have clarity. How I'm going to start the point. I've got to compete like my life depends on it. I have got to hustle and work, and between points, I got to manage that between points time. And if I can do those things, the result and the win maybe are going to happen. But that's the best possible way that I can put myself in a position to do that. Anything short of that?
Yeah.
And so
you'll also at the end of the day, if you don't win, you should be able then to review the match and come up and have some clarity about things you can adjust next time. What things should I go back to the drawing board and work on a little bit here or that? So I'm not clouded by the fact that I just totally went off the rails and went back to my warm, fuzzy style of playing, knowing full well it definitely won't result in the win. And so you've got to, the clarity of actually executing a game plan, is what gives you then a baseline to start to make adjustments with.
I will be the first one to admit that when I first started playing tournaments, I didn't have a great junior thing. I played one summer in the 14s, got thumped by Eric Van Dillen, love 4 times in a row, and said, this tennis thing sucks. I want to go back to playing baseball. But
I got thumped by Eric too a few times. He would come up and practice with us at Kenyatta Junior College.
Okay.
Because Rich Anderson coached Eric a little bit along the way.
Well,
so he would come up and practice with us sometimes.
Well, I was 14, he was 12, and he was playing up, right? He was playing up into an age group, and he was just going through everybody and had this little, he had a little swagger, just skinny as a little tiny stick. You wanted to just go, I can't do that. So anyway, but when I first started playing tournaments as an adult, is when I first, I finally started getting serious about tennis in my 20s. I was so wound up in matches. I was so nervous. I just didn't know how to be out there. I had no plan. I had no clue as to what I could do as a player. And so, of course, with no plan, with no clue, I was just so tight. And there were times I would beat someone who could barely hit a tennis ball. I'd beat the guy 2-2, and all the way home from Sonoma, I'd be cramping in the car because I'd been so tight during the match. It was just like, I finally said, God, you got to stop this. You got to figure this thing out. And so for me, And I think we've given you guys a way more tangible. I wish I'd had this kind of way of practicing.
Yeah.
But for me, all I did was I said, look, I just got to put myself in this situation. We didn't have leagues back then. It was just tournaments. I got to play as many tournaments as I possibly can, hoping that will desensitize myself. Still didn't really have a game plan or knew who I was as a player until I eventually got with Mr. Stowe. But that did help me. I did start sort of getting desensitized and realizing just take a chill pill and relax and play. And so I think that's one way of doing it. But I think a better way of doing it is the way that we've outlined it today, Jeff. And look, I hear from a lot of players. How do you take the feeling in practice to a match? And there's no magic bullet. There's no magic pill. You actually got to practice it and work your butt off to get there. But it's very doable. So, guys, with that, I think we're going to sign off. Before we do, one more reminder: our 15-minute private coaching call. We can work on technique. We can work on strategy, tactics. We can work on mental. We can work on physical. We can work on fitness stuff. Whatever it is, but the one thing that just bring one thing to that call. I mentioned, I think, no charge. It's private. Three of us get on the phone. And so the way to do that, just go over to goalballhunting.com. Drop in a first name and email address, click the button, and you'll get immediate access to our online calendar scheduler where you can cherry pick a date and time that works best for you. Jeff, with that said, what do we want the fine folks to do right now?
Like us, share us, please subscribe. Let us know what you think down below if you're on YouTube watching us. And then if you're on Stitcher or iTunes, rate and review. Love to hear.
Bingo. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Today. I can see this has been a rather long episode today. We went over 30 minutes today. That's cool.
Wow.
That's cool. We had to deliver the goods today. Guys, get out there. Help someone else have a great day. Jeff, we're doing this again tomorrow.
Can't wait.